Welcome back to the Wayniac Nation playoff football spectacular. It is the divisional round of the playoffs. I'm Wayne Cavani, or Prince Ali of Babwa. As always, let's welcome my co-host, the best in YouTube podcasting, coming from you from New York, is Fanduel Fee. Fee, how are you this week?
Oh man, I'm good. I had a rough week last week picking games, but I plan to do better this week. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. It's not much easier this week. Coming from Tobacco Road, where his Tar Heels made me stay up all night to beat my Syracuse Orange in the final minutes. I couldn't just blow them out and let me go to sleep early.
No, that's not how it's going to work this year.
Is the one and only Dunton. Dunton, welcome back.
How are you? Fee, your picks are no worse than the Steelers' performance on Sunday night. So just think of it that way, right? I mean, they started the game by hiking the ball into the end zone.
That was fantastic.
That might have been the highlight of the game.
Yeah. Which was one of the games all three of us got wrong. I
think the country got robbed on that one.
Yeah. I mean, if you called a Cleveland Brown 28-point first quarter, give us a call, and you're welcome to join the show as the fourth co-host because you know something nobody else does. But before we get to Larry's locks of the week, let's take a quick look at how everybody did. Against the spread, it wasn't pretty. I went 3-3. Fee, as he mentioned, went 1-5, and Dunton went 2-4. Straight up when we picked our wins, because a couple of those games against the spread, for example, the Bucks and the Redskins, we picked who would win straight up versus the spread. I went 4-2 straight up. Dunton went 3-3, and Fee went 2-4. So picking the winners, we were definitely a lot better. The playoff spreads are not always easy. So we did a lot more research this week. We're going to try to make it right. So we'll get rolling right to it. Larry's locks of the weeks. Saturday's divisional round playoff games. We start with the Packers and the Rams. Dutton, we'll start with you because I know there's a rooting interest in your house when it comes to the Packers. What do you think this week?
There is. I'll take the Pack to cover for 1,000, Alex, in honor of Aaron Rodgers hosting Jeopardy in the near future. Yeah. I think the Rams are. Cooper Kupp didn't practice today. That's concerning. Jared Goff in a cold environment. That thumb could be an impact. So I'm taking the Packers. I think they come out firing, and I think the Rams have a hard time. I know the defense is an issue, but I'm taking the Pack to cover. So
fair enough. Fee?
All right. So I think that the Rams are going to keep this game close. It does bother me, Goff's thumb injury, because it looked like he was not throwing the ball well last week. But the Rams defense is good, and I'm not entirely sure that the Pack run away with this one. I think the Pack win, but I'm going to take the Rams getting the 7.
And I'm going to do the same. I looked at a little bit more research during the season. The Packers had a 6-point or higher spread 8 times, and they were 500, 4-4 against a 6-point or higher spread. 7 points in the playoffs. The Rams, we've talked about it last week. Almost 65% of their games go under. And it's a large part because of the defense that Fee just mentioned. So I think the Packers win this game. I think it's a lot tighter than because even with those offensive woes, that defense is still pretty solid. So I think it's a closer game. And we'll project more of the score on our Instagram page as it gets closer and we see a little bit injuries, what we think the score is. But that's where we are. Looking ahead to the next game, it is the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. And looking at my handy-dandy spreadsheet, it looks like we're all on agreement here. So, Fee, why don't you get the ball rolling here?
All right. So I think the Bills are on a great run, and Josh is playing fantastic. I know they lost Zach Moss, but they didn't really run the ball anyway. So they're going from like 80% passing to like 95.
Right.
But I just think that it's, at 2.5 points or 2 points, depending on where you're looking, I think it's basically who you think is going to win this game. And I'm on the Bills side. I know the Ravens got what they got. Their running game has looked fantastic recently. And I feel like Buffalo's defense isn't all that great against the run, but I don't know that the Ravens are going to – usually I side with defenses, right? Like I side with the good defense in a close matchup. I just think the Bills are on a tear right now, and I think they're going to put it to the Ravens defense. I don't think the Ravens defense is going to hold them, and I basically think the Bills are going to win this game. So I'm taking them minus the 2.5.
Done.
There's a 40 to 50% chance of snow. Lamar Jackson has never played in the snow, which I found out yesterday. It's an interesting stat. It's already alarming when the Ravens are worried about it, when they're telling people we're worried that Lamar Jackson has never played in the snow. And Fiamano, everything you said, I agree with. I think the Bills offensively are just on a tear right now. I mean, Josh Allen could conceivably be the MVP of the season, right? Stephon Diggs could possibly get a lot of votes for MVP. I just think that's an offense that's moving right now in a direction. The Ravens did win their one playoff game, got Lamar over the hump, but I think that cold weather, home field, that's why the Bills wanted to continue to keep that number 2 seed. And here's a game for it. So I'm going with the Bills.
Yeah. I mean, you guys hit it on the head, but here's an completely random, but you brought up a fun stat. And I saw this on Twitter, and I have to research to find out if it's true because not everything on Twitter is true. But I saw today that Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles on when an opposing team intercept the ball in his career than he has drops.
That is an interesting stat.
And I don't know how to find that.
I don't know either. But
we have to come back with that next week because that's a fascinating stat.
I'm gonna dig. I'm gonna do research because even though you could look up tackles, you don't know that they've come on interceptions. If he was on a special teams earlier in his career, you know,
or a fumble or whatever, right?
But I'm gonna look into it. But I thought that was a crazy stat. I guess maybe I'm a little bit crazy, but I'm sticking with you guys with the Bills. I see him at 2, and it's everything the two of you said. Playoffs are about the hot team, and the Ravens look good, but they're not hot. The Bills have just been doing this for weeks now. They're hot, and they're home. Moving on to Sunday's divisional bouts. I want to go last here because if you look at the spreadsheet, I have a question mark on it. So, Dutton, you want to start on this Chiefs-Browns 10-point, the Chiefs giving 10 points?
So this was the hardest game for me to pick, actually.
Me too.
Because 10 points is a lot, right? And we saw what the Browns did against the Steelers. But then we saw what the Browns did against the Steelers. And let's be honest. I mean, that was an unusual set of circumstances, right? The Browns won a playoff game. Yay for the Browns. They won a playoff game without their coach. That's great. But they're now going into a buzzsaw that's waiting for them. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in the 10 points. I really am. I just think that next year, I don't think this is a 10-point spread between these two teams, but I think the Browns are a year away from this being a more competitive game. And that's where I'm going to go with it.
Okay. Fee.
All right. So there's a few things here, right? I say it all the time, and this is kind of like my calling card, but the Browns basically just won their Super Bowl last week. I say it all the time when a really bad team beats a pretty good team. But the reality of the situation is this. The Steelers had and have had for a while now a lot of underlying problems with their team.
Very true.
They lost the 4 of the last 5 or whatever it was. And it's almost something like in hindsight's 2020 where you look back and you're like, yeah, I should have known. I should have realized that the Steelers are not that great of a team, and there's definitely a lot of underlying problems there. And while, yes, a lot of crazy shit happened, and I get that, first play of the game, they score a touchdown. And then, Ben throwing 3 interceptions or whatever it was in the first quarter and, them scoring 28 points, that's basically really hard to come back from. But we should have kind of seen it happening. So the bottom line is this. The Browns basically just won their Super Bowl. And I still don't think they're a great team just because they beat a Steelers team who wasn't all that great to begin with. And they're going to go up against the Chiefs now. And I think the Chiefs are going to steamroll them. And I think they cover that 10 pretty easily.
Okay. So here's where my dilemmas come in. The Chiefs are not good against the spread. They're 6-9-1 this year against the spread. They're also 2-4 against 10-point or higher spreads this year, 10 or higher. So they're not good against the spread. They're also, if you look at their defense, they allowed nearly 2,000 yards rushing and I think close to 15 touchdowns, which is middle of the pack. It's not terrible. It's not great, and the Browns have two good running weapons. I know there's no doubt in my mind the Chiefs win this game. The question is by how much, right? So you could lock in the Chiefs as winning this game if you're playing money line. There's no question there. And I cannot for the life of me pick this game right now, but I just think you guys are right. The Chiefs, first of all, the Chiefs are good all the time. Playoffs Chiefs are that much better. So I don't usually advise a 10-point spread in the playoffs, but I think here you have to do it. Even with all those red flags on the Chiefs and big spreads, I think the Chiefs win this game by 10 or more than 10.
So there's two other things, right, that I just thought about. Number one is Andy Reid basically coming off a bye.
Right.
And his record coming off a bye is just, astronomical. He's just amazing coming off the bye. Which, just says something to how he prepares his team, even after they haven't played the week before. And basically the Chiefs are coming in on 3 weeks rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
3-week rest. Okay. Basically.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is this game is going to be closer than 10 points until the fourth quarter. Do you know what I'm saying? This game is going to be if you're gambling on this game, you're going to be sweating until the fourth quarter because the Browns, if they have any brains in their head, are going to play the ball control of we have to keep Patrick Mahomes off.
And they have the running game to do that.
Exactly. But at some point, the Chiefs are going to be up enough points where Baker's going to have to throw. Could be a possible turnover for a pick six, and all of a sudden it's 28-24, and now it's 35-24, and you're covering. You know what I'm saying? So it's something like that. That's what's going to happen. So that's what I'm worried about at the end of the game because I'm with you. I feel like this game could be close. The Chiefs are winning, no doubt in my brain.
Right.
It's just when is that 10-point being covered? So.
Okay. So that brings us to the last game, and Fee said your calling card. One of the calling cards that you'll hear announcers always say in the playoffs, they go, the toughest thing to do in professional football is beat a team 3 times in a year. And the Bucs have been absolutely embarrassed by the Saints twice this year. And I see on the spreadsheet, I'm the only one. And not only am I telling you that the Bucs are going to cover in this game, but Tom Brady's not losing this game. And I'm going to pencil in the Bucs for the upset because the hardest thing to do in professional football is to beat a team 3 times. We'll let Dunton go last since obviously wearing the Buccaneers sweatshirt, we want to hear what he has to say. But Sophie, what do you think?
All right. So I get that the hardest thing to do is win 3 times, but it's happened plenty. Okay.
Yeah.
The Giants have done it twice in recent memory. But there are definitely teams that win 3 times. Yes, it's hard to do. Yes, this is probably going to be a tight game, but I think New Orleans is going to win this game. And I also think they're going to end up covering the 3. 3 is a tough number. I mean, even 3.5 would be tough. Probably take the Bucs if it were 3.5. But I think with just 3 points, I feel like the Saints should be able to win this game, even with Brady on the other side.
All right, Mr.
All right. So here's the deal, right? This game will be decided between the Bucs offensive line and the Saints defensive line. And there's a good chance that Tom Brady is smashing his helmet and yelling at everybody by the second quarter with the 2 defensive ends coming at him constantly. And that concerns me That being said, the Bucs are one of the hottest teams offensively in football these days. I think there's a lot of people come Sunday night who are going to be looking ahead to the Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady to go to the Super Bowl matchup. And, oh, poor Aaron Rodgers now has to go against Tom Brady to get to a Super Bowl again. And that could be worrisome. This is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There is a good chance that they are going to completely walk out onto the field and forget how to play football except for Tom Brady. And there's only so much he can do when the rest of the team is not paying attention. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think the Saints are going to win this game. I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to cover, and I think there's a good chance that they might embarrass us one more time just for Drew Brees to tell Tom Brady, this is not the AFC. Good try, buddy. So, I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I do hope I'm wrong as a fan, but I don't know. It worries me. So that's where I'm at with this. Defensive line of the Saints scares me.
Another interesting note for you, not just over under, those of you that like to look at the over under, both the Bucs and the Saints have hit the over 10 times each this season. So if you're looking for an overplay, 51.5 is a lot. 51.5 is quite a bit. But if there's two teams that can put those kind of numbers up, even with that Saints defense, it's these two. So it's something to consider. So that that's
if they hit the over, the Bucs win. I will tell you that. If the over is hitting that game, then the Bucs win. Yep.
So that's our 4 games left, and by next week we'll have 2 games to talk about. So we'll move on. We have this is the daily fantasy part of the show, which means it is time for Fanduel Fee's action stacks of the week. We're going to kind of take the approach we took last week. I put together a Saturday slate and a Sunday slate, and then we'll let Fanduel Fee tell us where he thinks people slate in or better picks at each position. I will say that I'm not happy with either of these two teams. It gets a lot tougher when there's less games. And then and Dunton will chime in as he did last week with any thoughts on the players, not so much the price tag, but the players that are involved. And then we'll let Fee go a little bit into his Saturday and Sunday slate. So there's 3 different slates that you could do this weekend. The first we're looking at is the Saturday slate. And here I have Josh Allen at quarterback. We've already talked about it. He's 8,800. He's cheaper this week than he was last week, and he paid off last week. And it is Baltimore, but as we talked about, we're just talking about one of the hottest teams in football. So I put in Josh Allen at 8,800, and I'll get it out of the way now that I did the double dip with a questionable Cole Beasley at 5,900. And that's my stack right there. So, Fee, I'll turn to you for some thoughts on that.
I like it. I'm about the Bills this week. You could go Lamar if you wanted to go a little bit cheaper. I feel like Baltimore's going to keep it close, and who knows, this game could turn into a shootout. So you could go Lamar here. I'm not big on Aaron Rodgers this week. And who knows what's going to go on with the Rams. So right. I like Allen a lot. I think the only other way you might go is to go Lamar in that same game if you wanted to save some money. But I do really like Josh Allen this week. Oh, and I like the stack with Beasley too. John Brown hasn't really shown us much of anything, which will probably mean he'll end up going off.
Right.
But I feel like Baltimore is going to kind of hone in on Diggs a little bit. So whether it's John Brown or Beasley, and Beasley's like the safe guy, right? Like he's like your high floor kind of guy. If you wanted to take a chance and take a risk, you could go with John Brown and see where it takes you. But I like Josh Allen this week. I like the call with either Beasley or Brown to stack him.
All right. So moving on to running backs, I got the same game going at you. I got Akers and Aaron Jones. Akers is 7,000. Jones is 7,800. Akers has one of the few good matchups of this weekend with all the good defenses out there. The Packers' rush defense is a little, I guess, it may be the weakest out of the teams playing on Saturday. Not that it's bad, but just in comparison. And then, Aaron Jones just gets points, even against that Rams front seven. I think that he's involved in the passing game, and he's going to get his touches. So that's who I locked in there.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. They're the two highest salaried running backs on the slate, which is fine. The only other guy I really like running back wise is Dobbins,
which we'll get to and is in my flex. So I like to hear that.
You got an interesting lineup then.
Hey,
you got the highest salaried quarterback and the three highest salaried running backs.
Which is why I didn't do Allen and Diggs, because I went rushing.
How much is AJ Dillon?
He did look good that last week.
He is 4,600, which is like almost stone minimum.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like you know what I'm saying? He's an interesting one, right? Aaron Jones gets nicked up, and all of a sudden AJ Dillon comes in. He came in against Tennessee.
Looked great.
So anyway, go ahead.
No, it's definitely something to think about, especially at that bargain.
It's a GPP play. And it's a tournament play, and you're really taking a big risk.
Yeah, you're taking a huge risk that somehow he's on the field enough to make that much of an impact, right? Whether it's injury or the Packers are up and they're just running out the clock and using him to do it or something.
Yeah, you basically need him to get in the end zone, because he's not going to have enough volume to get yards or receptions or whatever.
Right.
He has to get in the end zone, and it's absolutely possible for that to happen.
Right.
They want to use Jones as much as they're going to use him this entire game, which is basically every single snap.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they throw in Dillon at the goal line or inside the 5 and let him plow it into the end zone.
And you're also taking a risk that it's him and not Jamal Williams. And I'm just going off of the last time they played. That's why I was asking. All right, move ahead to your wide receivers there, Wayne.
Okay. Well, we already know about Beasley. I also like my other two receivers are Hollywood Brown. I think he's been on fire. He even ran the ball a couple times last week. I was looking at his game log, actually, which is what excited me. 16.3, 18.6, 10.5, 12.8, 12, 12.4, 16.5 since November. Of course, none of those are big numbers, but obviously he has the potential for that big number. But since I went big on running backs, I'd rather go with a guy that's putting up consistent points, and that's why I went with Brown. And then my other guy is Robert Woods, because I feel like I always pick Robert Woods. So my receivers are Marquise Brown, Cole Beasley, Robert Woods.
I really like the Bills receivers this week. So whether you wanted Beasley or Brown, I like both of those guys. I would try to stay away from Diggs this week.
Yeah.
But I actually like Cooper Kupp a lot, and I know that he is slightly injured and questionable, but he was last week too, and he still had 9 targets and he had 4 catches for whatever. Right. But I think the way that the Rams are gonna stay with Green Bay, even if it's garbage time at the end, they're going to have to throw the ball. And I just like Kupp's skill set against Green Bay this week. I also really like Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Because if Jalen Ramsey shuts down Devontae Adams, which is absolutely a possibility, Green Bay is going to have to go elsewhere. To MVS, and we'll get to tight ends, but it's also to Robert Tonyan too. But so I also like MVS a lot, Cooper Kupp. I like the Hollywood Brown. Yeah, I would stay away from both Diggs and Adams, and I feel like that will give you a pretty unique lineup, not having either one of them in there.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. If you wanted, you're basically playing all tournaments this week anyway, all GPPs, so you might as well take a shot.
Tight end, I got Mark Andrews in there. Another guy that's red hot right now. I believe he was more money than Tonyan. Those were the 1 and 2 guys for the Saturday slate.
Yeah.
But I was good with either one of those, but I'm going to go with Andrews.
I love Andrews this week. Love Andrews. I just talked about Tanyan. I think he's a good play this week too. There's really not a whole lot of tight ends on this slate. You kind of want either one of those guys, I think, for the most part.
Yeah.
The problem's going to be is we were just talking about it, and I haven't made a lineup, but you want the highest salaried quarterback, the 3 highest salaried running backs. You know, I mean, I don't know how much money that leaves you left over for receivers and tight ends and whatnot. So I'm not sure you're going to be able to get up that high to get to where you need to get to if you want the highest salary tight end too. So,
right.
You know, I mean, it's all about roster construction and we'll have to see where you're at salary wise, but I do like Andrews a lot, and Tanyan is probably my next highest favorite.
And then on defense, I already told you the flex was Dobbins. Defense, I went with the Rams. You know, they're inexpensive and they're still one of the best defenses in football, and hopefully that turns into a couple fantasy points.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're the 3rd highest salaried out of the 4 teams. And I basically like their chances the most out of all 3 teams anyway. So it's almost like I'm getting a good value there for them. I would definitely take the Rams this week.
All right.
Watch out for a Blake Bortles sighting in Green Bay this weekend, which could mess up major daily fantasy implications.
I forgot he's on the Rams.
Right. I mean, he could be playing if Jared Goff goes down. Blake Bortles is in that game.
Yeah. Oh, that would be hilarious to see Blake Bortles in a playoff game. Let's move to the Sunday slate. So even though I told you that I think the Bucs are going to win that game, as Fee has said many times before, the key to beating the Bucs is through the air. So at a valuable to me 7,300, I went with Drew Brees at quarterback on Sunday and double dipped him with a very inexpensive Michael Thomas at 7,200. So we'll start there. I mean,
solid play with a terrible passing defense on Tampa Bay.
So I absolutely love this call. As a matter of fact, when we get to it for the Saturday-Sunday slate, where you got both games on the slate, I actually still like Breeze a ton. And I love the relatively inexpensive, as you put it, Michael Thomas at 7,200. Love that play. Love double dipping him. The only for Sunday only, the only other quarterback that I like actually is Mahomes. And that's just because I think that City is just going to, just kind of blow out Cleveland. They're just going to throw the ball a lot. They don't really have a big running game anyway. And if Cleveland puts up points the way they did last week, Kansas City's going to have to do the same, and they're just going to throw the ball a ton. So I really like Mahomes this week. But I love the Breeze call.
Excellent. So that moves us to running backs, and I got Chubb because as I told you, I think Kansas City's, and as Dunton said, they're going to play ball control. But I think Kansas City's rush defense is middle of the pack. I don't think they're bad, but I don't think they're great. I think Chubb could have a nice day. And he's at 8,200. So now I have the first 3 players I've told you are all over 7,000. So the other issue there is obviously I can't go Kamara or else I break the bank. And after Kamara, I don't like any of the other running backs this weekend. I'm not going to lie to you. So I went with the Fresh Prince of Edwards-Helaire. And I know he's questionable at 6,100. And my plan would be that if CEH doesn't go because he's still injured, like we said earlier, though, he's had like 3 weeks off now. But if he's still injured, he can't go, I'm just going to plug in Bell and let him get the volume that he'll get with Kansas City. Thoughts?
You don't want to give Leonard Fournette a spin on the old
I mean, is Ronald Jones definitely out? I got screwed last week by starting Ronald Jones, and then he didn't show up.
It's so, and who knew? Nobody tells you until the games go.
So that's why I stayed away from that.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
I like Chubb a lot this week. I agree with the whole ball control. They're going to need to try to keep Kansas City off the field. I like Kamara a lot too, but you're right. He is very expensive. And again, right. I don't really like a whole lot of guys the rest of the way down there. I would kind of stay away from Edwards-Helaire. I'm not sure of his health. I'm not sure how Kansas City is going to want to use him, how much they're going to use Lev Bell. I do like Kareem Hunt a lot. So, like,
but can you go? I do too. But can you go Chubb and Hunt?
Absolutely, especially just on a 2-game slate. I would absolutely go Chubb. Throw Chubb and Hunt in the same lineup, even though they're on the same team. If you really believe, and I do, that Cleveland is going to try and do the ball control offense thing, they're going to need both of those guys. So yes, I would absolutely throw both of them in there and try to get Kamara in there too.
I'll see what I could do. Okay, so we'll do that after. Moving to the receivers, I already told you we got Michael Thomas. I think Jarvis Landry's playing good football finally, so I went with him at 6,900. He's been steady. He's going to be the guy they throw to. He's their primary target. And then I went with a flyer at my third wide receiver because I kind of went with let's take a chance on a guy that's been getting steady points and may not get picked a lot. And I went with Demarcus Robinson on the Chiefs. He's been getting an uptick in targets the last few weeks of the regular season. And I just think he's that kind of guy that maybe sneaks in there with a touchdown and gets me 10 to 12 points for 5,100 and, gets me 2-3 times his value. So
Scotty Miller of the Bucks. That's exactly who that is.
Yeah,
Scotty Miller
disappeared, man. He's disappeared. He was great early on, and he
was right. Yeah, no, for sure, he's gone away.
Mm-hmm. Sophie, what do you think there?
So we just talked about Michael Thomas. I love that play, especially at his salary. It's going to be difficult. I like. I'm not. You said Jarvis Landry, didn't you?
I did.
I'm not big on Jarvis Landry this week. Especially if you're gonna go Breeze with Michael Thomas, you might want to bring it back with someone from Tampa Bay. The problem is that I don't know who. Right? Is it Godwin? Is it Evans? Or is it Antonio Brown? Which guy do you think this week?
Well, right now, based on the last 2 weeks of Tampa Bay football, Antonio Brown is the guy, right?
Yep.
I mean, you look at that and you're like, whoa, we can talk about that one another time. But anyway, it's
right. So I agree that Antonio Brown has been the guy, and Brady, old guy, to Antonio Brown, old guy, they kind of got a thing going, and he's the cheapest out of the three. So, the other thing is I love Tyreek Hill. The problem is that he's so expensive. It's going to be really difficult to get him in there. And here's my sleeper pick of the week. I really like Deontay Harris on the Saints. He played extremely well last week. I wouldn't mind triple stacking Breeze with Thomas and Harris this week, just because I really like the fact that, again, the Saints are going to have to throw the ball. And when they throw the ball, who are they throwing to? Well, if you've ever watched us prior to this, we all hate Jared Cook.
Right.
Okay. So, and the way Harris played last week, I love the fact that he's going to be on the field and that he's going to get targets. And so I'm more than willing to go back to the well with Harris this week and triple stacking him with Thomas and Breeze.
Interesting. Okay, so if let me tell you the next two plays before we get to flex. I got Travis Kelce in a tight end. I don't think I need to explain why. It doesn't matter who he's playing. If you spend the money on him, you're going to get your points. And then I went with the Chiefs on defense at a second value. As I said, I think the Bucs win this game, so I stayed away from the Saints, even though they have a very good defense. But I think the Chiefs win their game as well. I mean, I don't think we need to make any comments on Travis Kelce at tight end, right? I think
no,
I don't think there's any
move right there.
So that leaves me 6,900 at flex, and I would need 200 more to get to Mike Evans. I don't really see where to cut, and then you have a big drop. You would have guys like Fournette, Jones, Bell, Sanders, Gronkowski, and then all of a sudden you're looking at guys in that 5,500 and lower range. So your Harris could go in there. Or another guy like who's been red hot is Austin Hooper. He's been getting a lot of targets, and the Chiefs are actually not very good against the tight end when I was looking at fantasy points allowed. So one thing that we could do, as I'm thinking here, nope, that wouldn't do it either. So what of the names I just said, where do you like?
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
What's the salary that you got left?
I have 6,900.
Okay, 6,900. And you already got Antonio Brown in there?
Yep. I put him in for Landry when you said not to like him. So now, right now, the highest guy on my list is Jarvis Landry at 6,900.
You got Kareem Hunt in there.
I got Kareem Hunt in there.
Oof.
Right? See, this is where I got tricky.
Do you have Harris in there?
I don't.
Okay. You could throw him on the list.
So if you put him in there, then all of a sudden I'm 7,900 at running back, but that doesn't get me any closer to Kamara because Kamara is so high.
Right. Exactly. So let's see. How much was Harris? 52? Going Taysom Hill only gets you to 51. And there's really not a whole lot more after that.
Right.
So you basically can't get yourself to Kamara.
Yeah.
And yeah, after that, it's a crapshoot, right? So here's what the lineup that I have right now.
Let's talk about that.
I got Drew Brees. I got Chubb, Hunt, and just Chubb and Hunt. Then I got Michael Thomas, Deontay Harris, Antonio Brown, Travis Kelce, and the Chiefs D. And I have 6,800 left over for my flex spot. So basically, I'm in the same boat as you, having 6,900 for the flex. The problem is, I'm already using Deontay Harris. I'm already using Antonio Brown. So who's left? You know, I know you like Emmanuel Sanders, but I can't take all three of the Saints.
Right. You'd have all three Saints wide receivers in there.
You know, you could go Gronkowski, go Taysom Hill, but then, I mean, you're talking about a ton of Saints here.
Right.
Well, yeah, you could do it actually. But I don't know. I mean, it's really tough, you know, from 6,800 down or 6,900 down. You could take Lev Bell or Edwards-Helaire. You could take Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, it's basically a crapshoot as to who you think is going to put up the points. You know, you got Gronk there, right? So, you know, you could throw a few different guys in there. It's really just kind of how you feel, you know, who's going to play out, right?
So who do you like on your multi-day Saturday Sunday slate?
Well, we basically talked a lot about most of these guys, but for the Saturday Sunday slate, I like Mahomes at 9,200 or Breeze at 7,300. For running back, I like Kamara, but you're gonna have to pay a shit ton for him. I like Akers at 7,000, Dobbins at 6,500, and Chubb at 8,200. For receiver, I like Tyreek Hill, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, Cooper Kupp, and Deontay Harris. And tight end, it's Kelce, Tanyan, and Andrews. So, you know, you're basically for every single position, I named the highest salaried player.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, we're in the playoffs, so you're chock full of stars.
Right.
Exactly. So it's kind of hard, you know, trying to get enough value at cheaper salaries where you can fit guys that are going to cost you an arm and a leg, right? Which is another reason why, for the most part, I'm going Breeze this week. Across, I mean, where I can anyway. I mean, he's not playing on Saturday, but I'm going Breeze. I'm going Michael Thomas because I want that stack. And you know, I'll say it a third time. The way to beat Tampa is through the air.
Right.
they're going to have to throw the ball, and they do anyway. So,
right.
Kamara will get involved, but it'll be through the air. So, I really like that. It doesn't cost you a whole lot, and enables you, especially if you were to go Deontay Harris at 5,200 and maybe Chubb or something like that if you wanted to get that high. But there are other guys out there, and you don't have to take the top salary player in each position. Not that I think you'd be able to do that anyway, but I think paying down for quarterback, paying down-ish for running backs will get you enough that you can pay for the mid-tier receivers plus, maybe one high-cost receiver and Kelsey too.
All right. So there's, as you can see, there is a lot of ways to go this week, but not so many ways to go in our picks. We were pretty much on the same page with most of them. So that brings us to the end of the divisional round week. We have 2 more weeks. We're not gonna do a daily fantasy Pro Bowl pick 'em, but we'll start getting into our fantasy season wrap ups as soon as these playoffs are done. Here, talking about positions and guys that pissed us off and guys that surprised us and all that fun stuff. So thanks for sticking with us. Have yourself a good week and
go Bucks.
Go
playoffs.
Bucks.
It's weird.
Don't you dare close your eyes. Have a good night.